Before I even knew about Abraham, I came out of 3 back-to-back rather shitty relationships and manifested the love of my life in 4 weeks by literally doing nothing. The speed at which this happened and the ease with which it happened still makes me smile 5 years later, especially when I see how beautifully our relationship continues to develop. Additionally, I was blown away by the surprise and delight that the universe had in store for me by delivering so much more than I thought I'd requested. So, back in 2019, I had closed the loop on several relationships that really had not been serving me in the ways that I wanted. Thanks to the quick succession of them, I knew exactly what I didn't want, and so started by drawing up a list of things that I did want instead. I also knew that the relationships I'd closed the loop on had many similarities, and that I was the common denominator in all of them, so I had some shifting to do in my own vibration. Allowing myself some time to shift that, I announced on my Facebook profile that I was swearing off all relationships for 12 to 18 months. Sorry guys, you'll have to wait, I joked. And then the fun began. By the time I met my now fiancé just a few weeks later, I was actually in contact with 5 different guys, just figuring out what felt good and what didn't. That in itself surprised me. So there really is no shortage out there. Well, in reality, there was only ever going to be one that was just the right match for me, but there was plenty to consider. In the September, I swore off guys after having my heart broken. In the October, my now fiancé and I chatted briefly on Facebook after we somehow ended up as friends. Neither of us remember who friend requested who, and I had a policy against accepting friend requests from anyone who didn't have a profile picture, and he didn't. But when I saw his photo, I became intrigued. Incidentally, the very first photo he ever sent me was of him with a beard, something he has only ever done as a dare, and yet it was this version of him that sparked my interest. There's never any coincidences, are there? We'd agreed to meet up when I was closer to him next, as we were about 2 hours drive apart, and I'd just come out of relationships where I'd done all the running around, so I was mindful of changing that up. And so, about 6 weeks later, we met up. And from the outset, I told him I couldn't promise him anything beyond seeing him this one time. It would be a nice, fun, pleasant experience, but I could promise nothing further, as I was wanting to take time out for myself and didn't want a bounce-back relationship again. It was very much, as Abe says, I like you pretty good, let's see how this goes, kind of thing. And I'll always remember one of the very special things he did that first time, which there was no way he could possibly have ever known, and no one has ever done it to me, was something that replicated a very special moment in my childhood that made me feel so loved and cared for, and the synchronicity of it just blew me away. I think only myself and 2 others, those involved in that experience in my childhood, would even have known about it, and to just meet a total stranger for the first time and have him replicate that was truly precious. It didn't take many minutes after meeting for my now fiancé to know that this was a relationship he absolutely wanted. However, I was really committed to doing things at the speed that felt right for me, and so I was utterly determined to not work for this relationship at all. I'd had a history of going into the dating scene very confident and then turning into a complete puppy dog, just giving away all my power to the other person, who would then ultimately end up using it against me. And I was utterly determined to lay down new tracks and stay in my power, do what was right for me, and know that the right person would meet all of that exactly where I was at without any issues at all. After that first meeting, he drove to me weekend after weekend, while I got to enjoy my life and then just receive this amazing, beautiful connection each time he turned up, along with amazing perks like him cleaning my oven. I know, whose date cleans your bloody oven? All the while, he'd keep saying to me, marry me, marry me, marry me, like countless times a day. And I'd say to him, dude, if you're gonna say that, you have to do it properly and get me a ring and propose. I can't take you seriously if you're just gonna say that hundreds of times a day. And also, I need some time to figure out if this is right for me. and you're going to have to give me the space to do that. He was more than happy to wait. And I just want to make clear that prior to this relationship, I had been needy AF. Like, I didn't think I'd easily find someone who'd even look my way. For me to be confident in myself to ask for what I needed and know that the right person would hold that space for me was such a golden experience in my life. Going from I'm desperate to I need time was a powerful needle mover. And it was a whole shift out of the scarcity mode into standing in my power and knowing that everything that I want is coming to me in the most amazing ways that I don't need to orchestrate. They are all being done for me. Even when he offered to wait for me, I told him I wasn't asking him for that because I'd had that promised to me before, and then the person hadn't been there when I went looking. If something else came up in his life, he should grab the opportunity and I'd be cool with it, and I really was. I didn't know where I was at, and I wanted to make the right decision for me at the right time. I was also very aware that I had reached a place of no longer needing to be needed, but wanting to be wanted. It wasn't long before I realised I would be really silly not to follow the feeling I'd got about this guy. And once I knew, I really knew. I knew that this was like no other relationship I'd had, and so 10 weeks in, we got engaged. After a month after that, I moved in with him. I'd never lived with anyone except my parents, and he hadn't had a woman live with him for 20 plus years. He didn't normally date someone as young as me, and I didn't normally date someone as old as him. There's a 29-year age gap between us, but it never even registers in our day-to-day lives. We choose to walk beside each other while taking responsibility for ourselves. A couple of weeks after moving in together, lockdown happened in the UK, and in Wales that meant a lot of time spent locked in together, and somehow we made it through 2 years of that while having barely known each other before, both navigating old tracks from previous relationships and laying down new ones. Later, when I looked at the list of things I'd wanted in a relationship, I realised that not only had they been fulfilled, but some of them actually been fulfilled more fully than I'd even documented in my request. I'd written down that I wanted someone who had a daughter. I meant that I wanted someone who understood what it was to look out for the needs of and respect a young woman. Not only did 2 people that I connected with have daughters, but they had brought them up from a very young age on their own. And my desire to be part of a family was perfectly answered by the universe in a way that I could not have imagined, partly because of the age gap between my partner and I. His children are like my siblings, and his granddaughter is like the nieces and nephews in my biological family that I currently don't get to interact with. And unlike my own natural family, where us siblings have fought like hell due to various circumstantial stresses, I can honestly say that my partner's children have never, in 5 years, said a nasty thing to me, meaning I have a more beautiful relationship with them than I ever even imagined I'd have access to. My list was less about my potential partner's height or eye colour, both of which the universe totally came through with on, him being 6'4" and having blue eyes, and more about him knowing who he was and not being afraid to take up space in a room, who knew when to defend or support me and when to let me do things my own way. More about him meeting me halfway, being assertive rather than passive or aggressive, and generally being a decent human. His sense of humour still makes me laugh. His creativity and practical skill still blows me away. And his promise of support from day one has never changed. So, go write your list, or don't. But mostly, go play and have fun. And know the universe has it all in hand for you and is answering your desires in ways that will blow your mind.